say crack a window, open a door or whatever. Well, you've just created a vent, right?
Yes. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Ask the Chimney Sweep podcast, a podcast devoted to helping you and your family to safely enjoy your fireplace and heating system. I'm your host, Clay Lamb. It doesn't matter if you have a fireplace or just new to it. Things are always changing when it comes to heating with wood, gas, or electric. So, my friends, join me as we gather around the global fireplace to chat about fireplace hints and tips, or even how you might even save energy, cut down on those heating bills. Our audience here at Ask the Chimney Sweep is primarily made up of homeowners who are looking for answers to fix their fireplace systems. And in another segment that's really important to us are new contractors who are just coming into the industry. So stay tuned as we share more hints and tips and ideas here at Ask the Chimney Sweep. I'm on the phone here with my friend Jeremy Biswell, president of the National Chimney Sweeps Guild, and we've got a great conversation today on gas fireplaces, gas logs, and direct vent heat. Jeremy, you out there, buddy?
I'm here.
Let's start out, Jeremy, because a lot of homeowners out there have gas logs. So let's talk about that first. Is it a real heating appliance? What should their true expectations be of that?
It depends on the type of gas log. There's a lot of different ratings, and there's a lot of different types of gas logs out there. They have some that are heater rated. They have some that you can burn with the damper closed. And then they have some, probably the more attractive ones with the bigger flames and a lot of glow to them and everything, or more realistic looking, are the ones that you have to burn with the damper open. A lot of people have the misconception that gas is some sort of different beast and that it's safer than wood and that you can pretty much do whatever you want because no problems will arise from that gas burning in that fireplace. And so that misconception is very dangerous, or that it never needs to be serviced again. Hey, I've got gas logs. It never needs to be serviced again. It works fine. That's the biggest problem with it, or misconception with it, with the expectation of those products, is that they aren't a real wood fireplace, so they have a whole different set of requirements that the real wood fireplace had. But some consumers are just concerned about price. Consumers are concerned about heat. Some of them are concerned about visual. I found that most of them will buy based on one of those three assumptions. Or actually, we could add the fourth assumption that this is going to solve a problem with their overall chimney because it's damaged or what have you, and this is another option for them, which can be a misconception in itself as well.
You cannot put a set of gas logs in an inoperable fireplace. If you've got a sluggish draft and you think that's going to solve the problem, that's not the right solution. You need to solve the draft problem first. Another thing I want to do is make sure you discuss primarily vented gas logs. And just so our listeners know what we're talking about, vented gas logs means there's a damper that has been opened or propped open with some kind of a clip so it doesn't shut down. That's a vented system. It normally has a much more beautiful flame. It's more of a yellow and blue. Yellow is the carbons being burnt, and the blue is just pristine, just like you see on your stove. Now, the unvented gas log, let's talk about unvented gas logs, and let's say what the concerns are. I know there's still a lot of people that sell them out there, and it really brings up a hot potato. But let's talk about unvented gas logs.
Unvented gas logs are kind of a confusing beast because there's the natural thought process behind it and then what the manufacturer will put in writing. Vent-free gas logs are probably one of the more efficient burning gas logs, at least when you first start using them, as long as they're serviced properly. They're in the 90% efficiency range. So basically, they're not putting out a ton of carbon monoxide, and they aren't putting out the soot and a lot of the bad stuff that comes with a vented set that obviously needs to vent up through the chimney and out. In essence, due to the fact that they burn so cleanly, and I'm saying a lot of this stuff a little bit slower because there's a lot of ifs, ands, or buts and a lot of schools of thought on these products, that basically you can burn with the damper fully closed so you get that heat benefit back out into the room. When you burn with the damper fully closed, they're just like anything that you burn. It's going to put off some sort of a smell. Everything in the room gets drawn into the fireplace naturally and then will get burnt through that burner, and it'll usually get kicked out as a unique odor, whether it be pet hair, carpet fines, or Glade plugins. I've seen those put off a weird odor because the smell that's getting odors that are getting burnt back through the fireplace. A lot of people equate the smell of the vent freeze burning. If a lot of people grew up on the farm, grandma had a gas burner in her kitchen and she would be cooking on it, or if the power went out, they'd light it up. That unique odor that a blue flame cooking surface would put off is kind of what they smell with that. If you're really sensitive to smells, you're not going to be too happy with those vent freeze.
I find that a lot of manufacturers talk about opening a window, number one. And another thing is be careful about using them with small children with respiratory problems or seniors with respiratory problems. And I'm always concerned about that because I really can't think of too many families that don't have one or the other or both.
Well, sure. And you know why most of the families have respiratory problems is because there's so many chemicals in building products anymore, and you're living in that stuff every day. What you're doing is you're basically making the situation a lot worse by having another product in your house that's basically cooking all of those aldehydes and everything else and throwing them right back out in the room. So that's where a lot of the respiratory problems come in. It's not improving the air quality in your house, right? I mean, it's not. The other thing that's funny is when you say crack a window, open a door, or whatever. Well, you've just created a vent, right?
Yes.
I mean, isn't that silly? Isn't that silly? It's not that I'm not a fan. They have their place. We service them, and I always ask them, are you happy with this? And they all, yeah, I'm very happy with it. I don't know of any deaths, and I don't know of any major problems. Of course, when you go on the internet, you can find anything. I'm yet to see huge amounts of lawsuits, and good Lord, more and more manufacturers are making them every day. It's hard to tell with something like that. Then again, we're all sitting here talking with cell phones up to our ears, and there's schools of thought that causes brain cancer, yet all of us sit here all day long and do it, you know. So I guess time will tell, right?
I think you're right. I do want to talk about another product, the direct vent units. They're a little more expensive, but we've talked about gas logs. Most of them are listed as decorative. Some are heating appliances. We've talked about the vented and unvented. So let's move up the scale a little bit to a direct vent, which I dearly love. Let's talk about that with remote controls and flip switch to get them on, bigger glass window fronts. Let's talk about those, Jeremy.
Yeah, direct vents are spectacular units because what they do is they solve a lot of problems in today's modern tight houses. You don't have a whole lot of makeup air, so a lot of natural draft fireplaces end up downdrafting or drawing a lot of cold air in because the house is sucking the air down the chimney because it doesn't have enough makeup air in the house. And also, a lot of your open appliances require a big vent in order to vent all the bad byproducts when you're burning out. With the direct vents, they are basically their own little area of homeostasis is what you should say, is because basically what they do is they draw in their own air from the outside, and then it burns, and then it shoots the bad stuff back out all through a venting system that's very simple. A lot of them just go right out the sidewall of the house. They can go up. So it gives you many, many different options on venting. So that increases amount of places you can install them in a home. And it's only giving you the heat benefit, and it's not using any of the tempered air from the home, thus increasing the efficiency of the appliance.
I've always looked at these as really a little heating device that really works more zone heating than anything else. Anything else even comes close to the market. Nothing comes close to it on the market like a direct vent for really becoming important family gathering place and also a heating device.
Yeah, and they're very simple to use because just like everything else in the house, you flip the switch on, it comes on, you flip the switch off, it goes off. That switch might be a wall switch, it might be a remote, it might be a switch on the unit. So they're very simplistic, they're very on demand. You don't have to buy fuel for it from the guy down the street. He doesn't have to deliver it, stack it. You have to worry about keeping it covered and the quality of it coming in through either propane driven or most houses are natural gas. That's already coming to your house. It's already part of another fuel that's being fed to your house in the first place, which makes it nice. The other nice benefit to them is most of them will work if it's automatic ignition, where when you hit the button, the pilot lights up and then it comes on. They have a battery backup, so if the power goes out, you can still use the appliance. If it has a blower, the blower won't work when the power goes out, but the appliance will still warm up and heat. And if it's a millivolt system where it's got a standing pilot and it doesn't have that automatic ignition, you can still use that unit if the power goes out or if anything else happens. So it's a nice, viable source of heat and backup source of heat. You said that they're great zone heaters. Zone heating is probably the oldest form of heating. Big old houses, they used to have a fireplace in every room because if they weren't in a certain room of the house, they weren't tempering that area. Unlike our houses now, where right now my furnace is running in my house. We live in your typical American house that's probably too big for our family, but a few areas in that house that nobody's in right now, but there's heat blowing into that house. So that's pretty wasteful and inefficient. Having an appliance in that specific area and turning the heat down to the rest of the areas and then utilizing the heat just in that one area is a great way to heat. And if you have a colder area of the house that your furnace doesn't typically work real well in, it's a good way to warm that area up better. When we remodeled our basement's on concrete floor, so it was always a little colder down there just because concrete's a lot colder, right? And so we put in a direct vent. My gosh, when we light that thing up down there, let it burn, typically have to shut it off because it just makes it so toasty warm down there. And that's an area that, boy, we'd have to spend a lot of money and a lot of frustration trying to get our furnace efficiently heat or cool down there. So it makes it real nice. I love it. I love direct vent appliances.
So when I was younger, I really enjoyed cutting the wood and bringing it in, doing everything I had to do. And I called wood burning was a participating sport. Now I love going over and hitting the remote control on one or flipping a switch on the other. And maybe it's my age. I'm telling myself I just like burning clean like that. So simple, but there's nothing better than the smell of a fireplace crackling and popping and listening to it and watching it. It's almost as majestic, and there'll never be a gas fireplace from what I've seen look as romantic or feel as a wood burning. But I'm with you.
Oh yeah.
I love direct vent units.
Oh yeah. There's nothing sexier than the open fireplace, wood burning, and it goes back to our caveman roots, right? Oh, fire. It's a great thing, but you got to really pay attention, and you got differences in fuel. Easiest and most simple way to have a nice fire that's just on demand, and when you're living a busy lifestyle, it's a direct vent appliance. They're just a great investment, a great solution for your home.
Let's talk about chimney caps and help our customers understand and know why they need a chimney cap.
Basically, your chimney, when it has the flues that go up and it goes straight up and out, it's got passageways for the smoke. And those passageways have to be relatively large. Well, when you've got the elements, you've got rain, you've got wind, you've got debris, twigs, leaves, animals, anything that can fall down that pathway. So a chimney cap is like the roof on your house. Without the roof on your house, you're going to get all the elements and animals and leaves and sticks and everything else in your house. And you're going to get a lot of water coming in. When you put a chimney cap on, the biggest solution a chimney cap does is it keeps all of those unwanted things out of your chimney. And water's the strongest stuff on earth. So even if you didn't get any sticks, twigs, anything to block the flue passageway or an animal that can possibly get all the way down and into your house, that water that's getting down in there is going to create smells. It's going to erode that system prematurely, and it could get into your house and damage your house as well. Putting a cap up on top obviously blocks that, and it allows the flue gases to vent through the screening of it, and it'll keep the critters out. It's a great, simple solution for any of those issues, and every chimney needs a chimney cap.
Our West Coast listeners need to know is spark arresters on there, probably a little tighter, a little smaller, hopefully to allow the sparks to stay within the system instead of get out on a lot of those wood roofs out there, and keep the fire in the fireplace and in the system, and put a proper size cap, even if it requires a smaller spark screen.
And the nice thing is, even with that little slightly smaller spark screen, I see a lot of people who don't realize that chimney caps exist, so they just put hardware cloth or mesh over the top of their chimney, and that creates several problems, not only with debris that can fall on it and not roll off of it or have a little bit of a space so that chimney can still vent, but it also still allows water in, and that screen, it can become blocked with creosote or soot or anything like that. The nice thing about proper chimney cap, even if it has a little bit smaller screen, they actually have codes and setups for that to, in theory, be able to vent everything through. When it's vertical and not horizontal, it tends to not block as easy as long as you're burning decently and you're keeping it maintained. So,
What do you mean that vertical or horizontal?
have you seen screens for the top of chimneys? Basically, it's a big rectangle you see where someone just glues screen to the top of their chimney to keep animals out or what have you. It doesn't have the lid. Well, if you ever seen blockages, usually when a screen gets blocked, when they use a screen over it, it's typically because a lot of that stuff is laying on top and your flue gases are going straight up and out. Same concept when you take a chimney cap off of a chimney. Where's the dirtiest part of that chimney cap? It's on the bottom of the lid.
Yep.
So the nice thing is, even with a slightly smaller screen that's required in California, because they're trying to keep the sparks from exiting the chimney and hitting the ground and causing wildfires, things of that nature. With the proper lid on top, proper chimney cap with a lid, that slightly smaller screen is still allowing proper draft typically. It takes quite a bit to block those screens.
High on the pole here, believing that it needs to be a stainless steel cap. I know I've sold a lot of black galvanized caps. I painted a lot of them over again. I put on bandit rounds at aluminum, but I'm really a firm believer that a stainless steel cap is the best value that you can put on your home. And you can get a certified chimney sweep. You can get a member of the National Chimney Sweeps Guild. You can go to the Sweep Finder locator, and let's sign out with that. Why don't you tell people how to get a hold of a service contractor, some member of the National Chimney Sweeps Guild?
So the National Chimney Sweep Guild, the easiest way is to go to the website. It's NCSG, National Chimney Sweep Guild, ncsg.org. There is a homeowner sweep finder basically on there where you can type in your address or your zip code, and it'll bring up local members in your area within a certain radius, and you can contact one of them and chat about getting a proper chimney cap for your chimney.
And folks, when you find somebody out there, go online and look at their reviews. See if they're doing the job they're supposed to be doing. Most guys that are spending time to be involved with the National Chimney Sweeps Guild are really good business people. Look at the reviews and see what's going on in their life and their history. And I like what you said earlier, Jeremy, about let's read through those reviews and understand who's saying what. Jeremy, it's been a pleasure with you, my friend. Thanks for stopping by here on Ask the Chimney Sweep, and we will see you on the rooftop. Okay, buddy?
Sounds great, man. See you there.
Okay. Thanks, Jeremy. Well, Jeremy brings the goods again. He's a knowledgeable guy. I love his sense of humor, the way he puts things, different spins, I think. Gets you always laughing about something. He's a good guy, good teacher. He's been part of the National Chimney Sweep Guild for years. Actually, the president one time. Good man, good man. But I just wanted to share a couple ideas here. And he got us talking about gas fireplaces and things. So I'm going to take this over to next week. We're going to talk with Bill Hustle, another buddy of mine from up in Wisconsin area, Milwaukee area, and he's running his business. He used to live in Cincinnati, but now he lives in the upper north area, the cold country. But we're going to talk about gas fireplaces. He's got some good information, good engineering ideas. Remember, he's an engineer by trade and skill education at Ohio State. But he's grown a number of really strong and successful chimney and fireplace companies. And that would be Bill Hustle. That's episode number 60. But while we're asking for something here, I would like you to please like and subscribe. I will ask you again. The reason I say that, and I know it gets aggravating sometimes, but the reason I say that because Google, YouTube love to know what you want. And that when you like and subscribe and even put comments, they listen to you. All right, thank you very much, Clay Lamb with Ask the Chimney Sweep, and it's good to talk with you. And there goes my phone. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.